All right. Welcome back to Blue by 90. I'm Justin, joined by Jack and Kaylin as always. And we've got a special guest, the editor, founder. What do you want to call yourself? I don't know. The big guy over at the Maize Blue review. We appreciate you, Josh Henschke. How you doing, man?
I'm doing great. How about you guys?
Doing well, doing well. So we're deep into the off season now, but you've started your page, site, podcast, and everything, right? You started it in the middle of the football season. It's like fully up and running now. You've gotten 6 months under your belt or so. How's everything going over there?
Yeah, it's been good. It's hard to follow in the footsteps of such a strong brand before us, but I feel like we've done a really good job of picking things up and kind of connecting with a community that's been together and it's been so strong for years and years and years. It was a little daunting at first, but once you kind of get into it and start communicating with people and start joking around and getting familiar, it's been really good. We're really lucky to not only keep what the existing subscribers, but being able to relate to people that have been around for so long and are used to a certain way of doing things. So it's been good. Yeah, I'm really pleased.
So now for the people that are idiots like me, who was the site before you guys?
It was the Wolverine.
Okay.
Yep.
Gotcha.
Yep. They went to On3 and here we are.
Cool.
So I'm curious because I think a lot of people out there would be the same of like, how does a whole site change over? I feel like there's a lot, obviously, there's a lot to that, but there are listeners out there. I'm sure most everybody listening, listens to or reads like MGO Blog, the Michigan Insider, the Maize Blue Review, the Wolverine, like all these things, but like there's so much that goes on inside these entities. But it's like, isn't it? So tell us a little bit about like how you even got that opportunity too.
Yeah, so I was contacted probably like mid to late September about the opportunity. And things kind of progressed from there. They were like, they approached me or Josh Helmholt approached me, and he says, hey, are you interested in taking over the Michigan site, because the guys that we have now are heading to On3 November 1st. So obviously I was gung ho about it and very very into the idea. So we had some discussions, and then I had a contract in front of me probably early October. So I had to keep my mouth shut from, it's not only a contract from my side, but it's On3's contract situation as well, kind of prevented us from announcing. It was just, it's just the way it is. It's easy to look back and say, oh, I wish things were different this way. But, I have a ton of respect for, the guys that came before, or who we had to follow up for. The guys at the Wolverine are awesome. And, they were very supportive too, which meant a lot to me. So I had to keep my mouth shut for the entire month of October while trying to do my job for the Michigan Insider, and B, recruit people and write up my own contracts, start up an LLC, just a bunch of stuff. I mean, it was a hectic time, but looking back, just looking back years prior, like just the grind that you go through was absolutely totally worth it. But it was an interesting month. We kind of had to get set up the entire month of October behind the scenes. Very very quiet. I couldn't even hint at anything. So it was very interesting, but it worked out really well.
I'm slightly distracted by you. Or from you by watching Jack yell "shut up" at his dog.
Little fucker keeps barking.
Shut the fuck up. I was worried a little bit that it was your wife and not your dog.
Oh God. If I ever said that to Heather, I'd be out of the house.
Yeah. I'm surprised mine's not barking right now. He usually times it perfectly. He always does it when I'm doing something like this.
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure if you were talking about your significant other.
Oh, no, my dog.
Oh my God.
No.
He
no.
starts barking.
No. I'm a very eligible bachelor, just in case of the female audience out there.
We do have, I think, a very large female audience.
Oh, perfect. Great. You got any Michigan fans want some inside info? I'm your guy.
There you go.
For free too. Yeah.
For free. Ooh,
yeah.
Got some insider info while he's whispering sweet nothings into your
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You could have just pictured it during the Harbaugh saga, man. It was just bringing the goods. Bringing the goods.
Oh my God.
All right. While we're on that, do you have like one scoop that you've gotten? Like, what's your best scoop that you've ever gotten?
That is a really good question. The best scoop, probably. I had multiple people reach out to me during the whole Harbaugh thing, and I got laughed at for it. But I had people telling me, at the point of making it public that they had a deal done, and this Harbaugh in Michigan had a deal done for a contract extension. This was probably like a couple weeks after the season ended. So this is even before like the Minnesota stuff came up. So I was sweating big bullets when the Minnesota stuff came out, because I was adamant through the whole thing. I'm like, because people kept telling me, and I can only say what people are telling me, and the people I trust tell me, and they're telling me like nothing's changed. Like that, Harbaugh is walking around Schembechler right now. He's doing his job right now. And I'm like, that's what I was telling the people on the site. And I'm just like, he hasn't, these people are telling me this, and, I got to trust them. So probably what they agreed upon, even down to the details, not necessarily the dollar amounts, but, the assurances that, the staff were going to get raises, and stuff, it's stuff like that, and not necessarily the NIL stuff, but more assurances that NIL was going to become a thing, because Michigan was lagging a little bit behind that, which understandably so, because you got to figure it out. It's a mess. It still is a mess. It's always going to be a mess. But yeah, I think that the scoop that he was going to agree, that the extension was agreed upon. It was a done deal. All it needed to do was a signature, and that signature took a while. But we're here, thankfully, and I'm not sitting here all red faced being wrong. So that worked out. I mean, that was our first big win as a site, I think, and that really excited about that one.
Yeah, I mean, that was obviously a huge one. That's like the biggest thing of obviously there was a ton of stuff that went on in the season that was also big, but and it like immediately turned to that right away. And I mean, even like guys like Chris Ballas, who is very well respected all in the Michigan media, he was wrong a couple times. And I think he was probably right. And he was probably in the same situation that you were, was being told Harbaugh's in the building, blah, blah, blah. And then Harbaugh would like go and do something. Yeah. And then it's like, holy shit, this is, not what he was honestly going rogue. It felt
right. Oh, well, that's just Harbaugh. You can never predict what he's going to do. I mean, he'll do one thing and then just do something else, 2 seconds later. So, I fully believe that Harbaugh was headed to Minnesota prepared to accept a deal. I mean, that's not, there's no issue there. It's just Harbaugh did a Harbaugh, and he changed his mind. I mean, that's who knows if he was offered, if he wasn't offered, who cares? But I fully believe he was headed to Minnesota to take a job there, even though he was telling recruits and players personally. I know multiple recruits and families were having one-on-ones with Harbaugh and personally asked him, what the hell's going on here? Because I think a lot of people, even in Schembechler, were like, I don't know what the hell's going on. So yeah, and he was telling them that he wasn't going anywhere. This was just kind of a thing that he was doing, but it sure didn't seem like it towards the end there. But he at any rate, it went the other direction. So it is what it is. I mean, that's just Harbaugh being Harbaugh.
Well, it's funny you say that because we have a friend that once Michigan, they got Harbaugh to come back, whatever, he signed his contract, and somebody I respect hugely, and not really necessarily in sports, but like has connections within the university and whatever. And he was telling us, he's like, when he gets serious. He's like, I know for a fucking fact Harbaugh was leaving. He was going, like his family was preparing for the move. Like he's going to Minnesota.
Yep.
And he's like, he must not have liked that last conversation and backed out, but he was so adamant that Harbaugh was for sure that Harbaugh was for sure going there.
Yeah. I think ultimately staying was probably the best move. I didn't think Minnesota made much sense. From a cap space standpoint. I mean, they're in cap space hell. I mean, obviously he's going to have a person say in personnel, but he's not going to be the GM. But you have Kirk Cousins who stinks. I mean, you've got a couple of good pieces there, but I think the Las Vegas job was far more attractive than what Minnesota was. But there was nothing there with Las Vegas. He didn't have a conversation with Las Vegas, so I don't know. It's silly season either way, so I don't know where the hell half this stuff comes from.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like there's got to be, 90% of the sources stuff is bullshit, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, the sources stuff is, hey, I know a guy who knows a guy who said this, so that's you can. I mean, yeah, exactly, and sometimes that stuff is well placed because it comes from perhaps the horse's mouth directly, even though it's maybe second or third hand. But I mean, yeah, I don't know. The stuff, it's like a game of telephone, it's just like someone says one thing, which leads to another, which compounds on another thing, and it just gets all messed up and ultimately wrong. So
what do you have any idea what went down with Josh Gaddis? Because that was a weird situation where he's the assistant of the year.
Yeah.
You felt like they had the momentum there. Some people thought maybe he thought that he had the head coaching job at Michigan and he was pissed about that. Some people thought he was, out to get a raise or wanted this much raise, and Harbaugh said, no, you get this much. Do you have any insight there?
Well, I know I have a pretty good, a source that would say that, him and Harbaugh and Gaddis were destined for a divorce regardless of who came calling. I mean, there was rumors that he wanted to go to the NFL route after the Virginia job fell through, because he would 100% would have taken that job if he were to be offered. And I'm pretty confident in saying that he was the runner-up for that job.
Bad job though.
Yeah, it's an awful job. It's a terrible job. But it's guys who are coaches who are that confident in themselves. They'll take any job that that they can just kind of prove that they can do it. But yeah, I mean, it was from multiple conversations that I've had. It was clear that if it didn't happen then, at the end of the year, it was, this season, it was going to be, they were going to divorce either way. So, people.
I think obviously we know that Jim Harbaugh is hard-headed and stubborn.
Yeah.
But insert adjective here. And I think that Josh Gaddis was somewhat the same way. Is that right?
Yeah. I mean, I think he kind of showed his true colors towards the end there with that text that obviously was meant to be leaked regardless. I mean, that kind of stuff doesn't not get leaked, but I think he kind of showed his ass a little bit on the way out, and kind of showed what he was all about. But yeah, just a weird situation.
I feel like to be honest with you, although maybe Gaddis was holding back the culture and had some issues there, but I do think that he really did very well as a coordinator, as a play caller. He finally hit his stride last year, and I worry that Michigan could take a step back with replacing him as a play caller. How do you feel about that?
Maybe, but I do think Matt Weiss and Sherrone Moore had a big say in the offense last year. Matt Weiss is big into analytics, and that played a big factor in the offense last year. Ultimately they didn't call the plays. I mean, they'd suggest plays, but I think it'll be interesting because obviously everyone knows about Matt Weiss and the Baltimore background and how he worked with Lamar Jackson, blah, blah, blah. We'll see how it works out. I don't think the offense is destined for a step back. Honestly, I think, with the amount of athletes they have, especially at wide receiver, they have a chance to really open things up for once. I mean, this is the year to do that. I mean, it's.
God. I'm begging them to open it up. At this point, I don't give a shit who the quarterback is. Just fucking throw the ball.
Right, exactly. And you can't not throw the ball. I mean, who they have, even returning with Ronnie Bell coming back. I mean, you gotta throw the ball. You gotta get creative. You don't have Hassan Haskins who you can rely on, which, okay, fine. But, I think
you got Blake Corum and Donovan Edwards.
Right, exactly. And I think Donovan Edwards is going to be one of the leading receivers in, as a running back in the country. I think he's that good. He's that versatile. He's a weapon. And, Michigan hasn't had those kind of weapons in years. Can't even remember the last time they've had that. So, to take a step back offensively, there's got to be something bigger there. Maybe it might be a play calling issue, but there'd have to be something very, very wrong, fundamentally, culturally in order for things to go south. Anything but north, there's some really concerning stuff if that were to happen.
What do you think about AJ Henning getting some snaps at running back? We were talking to Dono a little bit last weekend, and he was bringing that up because we were talking about him doing a little bit of receiving and whatnot.
Right.
And I'm almost thinking now that AJ Henning and Donovan Edwards might have a pretty similar role. I mean, obviously, I think Dono's going to play a little bit more at his schedule position as AJ would, but they might have a similar role if they're both, able to catch the ball and take it out of the backfield.
Yeah, I think it's smart. The jet sweep role with AJ Henning and all that stuff. It makes a lot of sense. And again, they have so many guys that there's only one football to go around. So you got to get guys involved somehow. And, AJ Henning is a reliable guy and can do a lot of things for you. So it makes a lot of sense to kind of make a role for him. And I think he's going to be extremely effective, in the kick return game and things like that. But obviously you want a larger role outside of just special teams. So, it makes sense. I think it's smart, and I'm curious to see how it'll work. I mean, you saw it a little bit towards the tail end of last year, and it was successful. So, considering Michigan's offensive line that's coming back, plus you get Alu Oluwatimi in there, Michigan's offensive line arguably could be better, which could create more opportunities for him to break loose. So. I think it's smart. It's smart to get your guys you can rely on involved. I mean, that's how you become successval.
I think honestly, we may see a motion where Donovan Edwards motions out to receiver and AJ Henning comes back into running back.
Yeah.
I think we could see a lot of that. Dono was calling him the wide back position that
Cordero Patterson or San Francisco
Samuel. A lot of those guys. I mean, it's a big NFL thing. So I think that shit would be incredible. I don't know how, as a defense, if you can utilize the weapons that Michigan has, and whether it half of them are decoys or not, I think that makes them really, really hard to defend if you're using them in motion and doing a lot of that stuff too.
Yeah, exactly. You know, it's you have Donovan. They're interchangeable, really. I mean, maybe Donovan might be more reliable in terms of running the ball and getting in between the tackles, but you know, it's hard to prepare for stuff like that with guys who are interchangeable, and you can interchange them at any time. You know, you can even during a play, you can just switch them out before the snap. So, yeah, having those kind of wrinkles are, you know, and you can bring them out at any time. You don't necessarily have to be game one of the season. It could be, you know, a special package you save for, let's say, Ohio State or whatever. So yeah, having guys that can do multiple roles, and that's something that, you know, they've been really emphasizing in recruiting too, is guys that who are really versatile, can play multiple positions. And obviously we've seen it multiple times, the guys switching from offense to defense and things like that. So, you know, having that versatility, you know, and being able to trot out that versatility on any play is huge.
Now, do you think that a team like Michigan that's going to have so much talent, but also like depth at wide receiver position, is there a chance that they could be kind of like oversaturated at that particular position, especially with the team that had the motto "run the damn ball" towards the end of the year?
Yeah, you know, that's a big question. You know, do they have too much right now? I mean, which is funny to argue. I mean, is there too much? Which I don't think you can say there's ever too much. But yeah, I mean, that's the $1 million question. Is it, do they still want to be a run first team, or do they want to go out there and throw the ball? And there's a lot of guys that deserve playing time that are returning. I mean, you know, Cornelius Johnson, who hasn't been talked about much during the spring. He's just a solid guy. Obviously, Ronnie Bell returning. You got Roman Wilson, and you know, you've got the young guys coming in too. You know, Darius Clemens, who, you know, you saw during the spring game, but you know, I've just heard nothing but good things about him. Amorion Walker came on late. There's just a lot going on there. And again, there's only one football. How do you kind of determine, and I didn't even mention Andrell Anthony too. So it's interesting. It's an interesting question to ask, you know, how do they get these guys involved and how do you keep them happy? Because ultimately these guys want the ball. I mean, they're team first guys, but these guys want the ball, and have aspirations beyond Michigan. So, yeah, that's the $1 million question. Can they do it? I think they can. I think they can find a happy medium, but you know, you might have to go away from running the ball a little bit.
And I think that there are a lot of teams out there, the Ohio States, the Clemsons, the Bamas, the Georgias, that they sit 4-star wide receivers that just don't get playing time, and they make sure that they get the top guy the ball. So, you know, at some point you obviously want to make sure that guys, you know, you don't have a mass transfer or something, but at some point you play the best guy and you get him the damn ball.
Exactly.
I think it's you have to play hardball sometimes, and you have to say tough shit. You know, hey, you want to get the ball, you got to do what that guy's doing. Right?
Yeah. Exactly. You know, if you want to hang with the big boys, you got to act like the big boys, and that means kind of hurting some egos. You know, and you can't stroke egos all day and act like, you know, and to be successful. I mean, it's just not going to happen. You have to make the tough decisions, and that's at the end of the day. And that's just in college football in general. You can't make everyone happy, and nor should you. You know, like you said, you play your best players, and they will be getting the best players will be getting the ball. And, you know, having that kind of competition with so much depth, the best is going to emerge regardless, you know? So yeah, I mean, there's going to be some upset players behind the scenes, but you know, like you said, tough shit. It's just what it is. It's just what's going to happen.
So we're talking about stroking egos. If you could stroke one person's ego, doesn't have to be on the Michigan football team.
I'm just glad you said
a celebrity.
Yeah, I'm glad you finished that sentence.
Well, we were talking a little bit about, you know, hammers before we started recording. Now we're talking about stroking. You know, My mind's running a million miles an hour right now.
Yeah. You're
But if
home
you could-
alone with the dog. I get it.
Boys weekend, baby. Oh man. But if you could stroke one person's ego, at any person in the world, who would it be?
Stroke one person's ego.
This is the weirdest.
Like, tell them how,
Use your
just
imagination.
tell them how great they are. Is that kind of like?
Use your imagination. Beyonce came out with a song called Ego or something, right? Or she had some lyrics like Ego.
Sure. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Let's go with it. Let's go with
I
that.
don't know. This is
Unconfirmed.
If I could stroke one person's ego in the entire world.
If you,
My
if you
God.
want, like, this is like the verbal. Like, if I'm gonna verbalize a meme here, this is the car that's like skirting off to the highway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
fully, like, what? We're going right turn here.
I have to answer this because I'm just going to be thinking about it the entire rest of the way here. Probably it's either a tie between Tom DeLonge or Mark Hoppus, because the Blink-182 is my favorite band ever of all time. And if I had a chance to meet those two guys, I probably would be like, oh, you guys are awesome.
I'd go skiing.
You can go skiing. Okay.
I like Blink-182.
I like
Yeah.
Blink-182 a lot.
They
as well.
deserve a hand every now and again.
Yeah. I've seen them live 3 times, so I'm a fan.
You're a fan.
There's this one time, talking about like telling people how big of a fan I was. I met Lloyd Carr once. I was probably, I don't know, like 17 at the time, and he was like outside taking photos with some people, and I walked up. I was wearing a Spuck the Fartins t-shirt, right? And this is like peak dumbass Josh era. Like,
Love
I
it.
walk up to him and I take a picture with him, and I'm like, I'm a big fan. He's like, I can see that. That was his response. And then I think about that to this day and just cringe to myself, and I'm like, oh
my god.
that's a bad look.
Especially now, because you've obviously, I'm sure, been around like most coaches, players, like
Yeah.
all that stuff.
Yeah. And I'm like, oh, I hope he doesn't remember me.
Going cool.
I've turned off that part of my life. Like, let me clarify here. Let me say that I'm not a fanboy anymore. That era, that chapter of my life is over. I think it actually died that day when I met Lloyd Carr, personally.
Like, I gotta make some life changes.
Yeah, exactly. Looking back, I'm like, oh man, yeah. Oh.
So did you walk away from that like, yeah?
I did. Oh, I was pumped at the time. I'm like, oh hell yeah, Lloyd! I just met Lloyd Carr. I took a grainy ass photo with like my freaking flip phone. This is awesome. Yeah, and now looking back, man. Oh,
I actually, you know what would be awesome is I wish that like I could compile every photo I've ever taken from like every flip phone, my Motorola Razor, my Nextel that was like black and white, like back in the day, obviously like Kodaks, like all that, like that would be incredible because I've lost so much content out there.
yeah.
I'll tell you what, we got to start using a disposable camera for some shit. I love that. People are getting sick photos out of them. Go to CVS, fucking wait for nobody to show up, try to get them developed.
You know what though? I did do that probably a year ago. It's so expensive. It's like
to get them like printed or developed.
Yes, to get them printed, like one thing, it's like 30 pictures. It's like $60.
Holy crap! What?
You're lying.
I swear to God, go try it.
Where did you go?
Like CVS or some shit.
You're fucking lying,
dude. Is your CVS just like 5-star restaurant?
Yeah. CVS. Well, dude, I want to know what CVS you go to. That's like five-star dining there.
I also got
$60. We piss on all the pictures.
Oh, that's hilarious. Oh man.
All right. Speaking of stories too, you've covered recruiting, I'm sure, whether it's in the basketball world or the football world for a while.
Yeah.
What's the weirdest recruiting story you've ever either seen in person, covered, heard of, anything along those lines?
The weirdest recruiting story. I don't really know of too many Michigan related ones, but probably the weirdest one was probably it's funny because it always it always jogs my memory when I look at Alex Anzalone from the Lions. The B-Dubs trivia guru. I don't know if you guys are familiar with this. There's a Ohio State fan named B-Dubs. This was right when Urban Meyer got hired from Ohio State. So it was like early days where, we thought that, Brady Hoke was going to actually compete with Urban Meyer.
Never got a chance.
Yeah. So there's this guy on Twitter named B-Dubs Trivia Guru, and he'd always tweet to recruits every day. Like, I think it was a Muhammad Ali quote. I can't remember what the exact quote was, but he would tweet it every day, and he would take photos with recruits, like in person. And it turns out that B-Dubs Trivia Guru was a pedophile. He was like a registered sex offender, like a legit pedophile. And it caused Alex Anzalone to decommit from Ohio State and commit to Florida. That was why, because he was originally committed to Ohio State.
No way.
Yeah, and like that whole backlash from that kind of made it freaked him out. I mean, Alex at the time was 17, 18. So yeah, I mean that's probably the weirdest recruiting story I know of. Like a legit sex offender made Alex Anzalone flip from Ohio State to Florida. It's just wild.
Imagine being Urban Meyer and you're just like, what the like getting that phone call like,
yeah,
hey, coach, I can't go to Ohio State anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, if we're being honest, Urban knew. He knew he was going to do shit about it.
I think it got to Ohio State, and I can't remember the exact what happened to it, but I think Ohio State had to release a statement or something like that, not condoning this fan or whatever. I mean, it was so long ago. I don't know if it's even on the internet anymore, but yeah, that's probably the wildest. I mean, it was peak Twitter too. I mean, that's peak Twitter.
Oh,
it's crazy.
That would be the best Twitter hour of all time.
Oh my God, it was insane. I mean, that was when I first started getting into recruiting too. So, I'm like, man, is this every recruitment going to be like this? This is wild. This is crazy. I mean, what the hell? I mean, it's not as, fans like to tweet recruits and, whatever. It used to kind of weird me out. Now I'm just like, man, whatever, it's whatever. But that was peak, weird. It's legit weird. Ugh.
Fucking that's out there. That's
out there. Yeah.
So talking recruiting too. So I want to ask one question about football, then I'll ask a question about basketball too.
Sure.
So football, what's going on? Why is Michigan not seemingly able to capitalize on the best season in 20 years? Jax is going to shake his head because he thinks I'm being negative, but I think I'm being real when I just thought that this would propel us to be able to grab a few 4 stars and 5 stars. And there are a few here and there, but they just took a 3-star running back over a 4-star running back, and that guy's going to go to Ohio State.
Yeah, I'll give you 2 words: Minnesota Vikings. That totally derailed everything. I firmly believe that. I don't know that for a fact, but I firmly believe that whole Harbaugh flirtation with the NFL just totally ruined all momentum. I mean, that's easy, negative recruiting fodder. Easy. Any program, hey, look, this guy's not going to be here when you get to campus. So I truly believe that Harbaugh flirtation, which is fine. I mean, he's perfectly allowed to do that. I mean, he's I have no issues with him doing that, but you got to face the repercussions if you don't go ahead and go through with this, pursuit. So, you're dealing with the consequences a little bit. And I think Michigan is kind of a notorious strong finisher. I mean, they've always been that way. I mean, you saw it last year. I mean, fortunately, they had a couple of fortuitous bounces with, Brent Venables going to Oklahoma, which kind of opened things up for Keon Sabb. And obviously Cristobal to Miami, which helped with Clemens. But yeah, I think they've always finished strong. They've always delayed big recruiting weekends until later on in the year. I mean, they've had a couple. The spring game wasn't exactly a strong recruiting weekend, which could have been, but I truly believe that Michigan everything will round out once the season gets to an end here. I mean, they'll pick up guys to the summer. Who? That's a great question. I would love to know that as well. But they'll get guys here and there. But I think we're looking at probably more of a strong finish than get off the. I mean, if things were opposite with the Harbaugh thing, yeah, I think they would have been riding a little bit of momentum here. But it is what it is. You just got to deal with it.
We're gonna be a little more optimistic here. Are there any big recruits or guys to look out for that you're aware of?
I mean, that's another great question. I mean, that's really nothing appears imminent right now. I mean, you can mention guys like Amir Herring who are up there, 4-star guy out of West Bloomfield. But that's a weird one. Dante is a weird one. He doesn't really talk all that much, and neither do his people. So it's kind of hard to really see where things stand with him. I think Michigan is in on him. Obviously, I think they're way up there for him. But if gun to my head, you were to tell me where do you think he's going to go if he were to announce tomorrow, honestly, I'd say Notre Dame. I think he'd be going to Notre Dame.
Listen. I'm okay with him not coming to Michigan as long as he doesn't go to Ohio State.
Yeah.
How would anybody go to Notre Dame? You ever been to Indiana?
Yeah. Well, how it is with new staffs. I mean, new coaches always have that new coach sheen, and they always start strong. And Marcus Freeman's just a relatable dude. He's just a good dude, cool guy. He gets it. So he's going to have these quick recruiting starts, and having a guy you can base your class around, and Dante Moore is obviously a huge start. So the QB situation is interesting, because if you move on to 2024, you got a 5-star in Julian Sayin, who Harbaugh personally called from the Masters and told him that he's the number one priority. And meanwhile, you also have CJ Carr out there as well in 2024.
Gotta be a lock, right? He's taken all these visits, and I'm sure what I've heard and seen. I think I actually read your thing about it the other day on Rivals.com.
Yeah,
that it was basically like he's taken his his visits, and he actually is interested in hearing out other teams. But ultimately, it makes too much sense.
Right. Yeah, it's I mean, it's ingrained. Michigan is ingrained in him. From his mom, his dad, his grandpa's multiple. It's hard to see him going elsewhere. But at the same time, it's interesting. You got Harbaugh saying that he's a 5-star, or he's this 5-star guy, that he's the number one priority in the 2024 class. Do you take 2 quarterbacks? Which kind of, I was having this conversation the other day with someone, if you miss out on Dante, do you just scrap the idea of taking a quarterback in 23 and earmarking an extra scholarship to take 2 in 2024? But at the same time, does CJ want to be the number 2 quarterback in the class if you were to hypothetically land Sayin, which isn't a guarantee, of course, but if you do land him, do you take 2, and is CJ okay with being, the second QB in the class, and is Sayin okay with it? There's a lot of moving parts to it, and I think it's interesting that Harbaugh said what he did. I mean, I get it from a recruiting standpoint, but at the same time, you got a guy in your backyard who was born and raised the Wolverine. It's interesting. It's a really interesting time in recruiting right now, because there's no guarantees, and there's no guy in this class where you can put, in the 2023 class especially, where you can point to and say he's coming, he's not coming. They're taking it, like Benjamin Hall, for example. No idea he was committing. No one had any idea he was committing, and that's probably going to happen a few more times in this class. That's kind of what makes it so hard to predict.
But like, I don't know, with that specific one, I'm like, can you hold off on him so you can get what's his name that just committed to
Fletcher? Yeah.
Like, to me, I'm like, I don't know. I get the vibe that Jim Harbaugh he saw what happened in 2021 with this team, where he had a bunch of guys that are super passionate. They're all in on Michigan. It didn't matter if they were a 5-star or not, but because they loved it and all that, that was what took Michigan to the next level.
Yeah.
I feel like now with recruits, he's like, I want guys that are all in. I don't want these guys that are flirting with.
Yeah.
I don't care how talented they are. If they're flirting with somebody else, I don't want to, even talk to them. That's the feeling I get. And like, I get that, but like at some point you can't just take all 3 stars. You need to have some talent.
Yeah, exactly. No, 100% right. Yeah, I mean, you can luck out and really get a couple of lucky bounces and get a 3-star guy that ultimately plays like a 5-star. Yeah. But you got to have talent. I mean, you look at all these stats that come out about Super Bowl teams and national championship teams. They're 4 or 5 stars. I mean, that's, again, if you want to be a big boy, you gotta act and play like a big boy. I mean, you gotta land these 5-star guys. You gotta steal these 5-star recruits away from the Alabamas, the Clemsons, the Ohio States. You gotta do it. At what point does that happen? Oh, that's bad. I would love to know that question too. But yeah, I mean, you can't just rely on hoping that you grab a steal somewhere and say, hey, this guy looks like he could be a dude. Yeah. You got to get some legit dudes, dudes that are identified.
Right. How many stars was Tom Brady? Do we know?
Oh my God.
I don't even know.
I think it was a 0-star.
No, he was.
Did they even have stars back? I don't even know they had stars.
Yeah, it counts as a 0-star then. That counts. But if we're gonna let's talk about some Michigan QBs that are at Michigan right now. Future Heisman winners: Davis Warren and Alex Orji. Who's your favorite between those 2 guys?
Davis Warren or Alex Orji? Probably Davis Warren, just because of the story.
Correct answer.
Yeah, he's got an unfortunate story. I mean, the kid battled cancer and then had his senior year canceled on him.
Yeah.
Wait, I didn't know this story.
Yeah.
You didn't?
No.
Yeah, I think he had leukemia. I mean, he had leukemia, I think his sophomore, junior year. And, he beat that, fortunately. And then COVID knocked out his senior year of high school.
Jack, he's our best friend. You have to know this.
I got to start researching people. Holy shit, what a badass dude.
Yeah, that dude's a badass for sure.
Times more now.
Yeah, no, and it's funny. Michigan really thinks they've got a guy in Davis Warren too. He showed it. I heard all spring. I had guys tell me, dude, Davis Warren is legit. He's like a legit 3rd stringer, and I'm like, yeah, okay, whatever. He's a walk-on, whatever. No, this dude is legit. Like, Davis Warren is legit, and I'm really curious to see how his career shapes out. I mean, maybe he might transfer and get a scholarship elsewhere because that kid deserves a scholarship. And I think he will, just NIL wise, I think he's going to get some sort of compensation for his scholarship.
He's a blue by 90 athlete.
Oh, yeah. Well, then there you go. He's taken care of. He's taken care of.
I mean, he's going to get tens and tens of dollars.
Yeah. he's all set. He doesn't have to worry about, money anymore. He's all good.
Hot and ready. We got you.
Yeah, exactly. He's hooked up. So, yeah, don't have to worry about it. There answers that question. So, but that kid is legit. Alex Orji, I don't think he's going to be a quarterback. By the time his career is done at Michigan, I don't think he's going to be a quarterback. And that's not to say that he's bad. I think he's better as a linebacker, personally. I think he's
that in like high school or something.
I think he played both ways in high school. I'm pretty sure he did.
I mean, he's like a monster to me.
Yeah, exactly. He's got speed. He's got size.
I want him to be everything that Joe Milton wasn't.
He doesn't have that rocket arm we heard about, but
I heard it was Cam Newton and Pat Mahomes.
Oh, God. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know who that was.
But I would not be surprised if Alex was playing on defense or elsewhere by the time his career is over. And again, that's not to say that he's bad. It's just I think his athletic skills could allow him to play elsewhere and be successful. I think the linebacker is the perfect role for him because that dude is fast and he's athletic as hell, and I think he could hit hard if he really wanted to. So, I mean, it'll be interesting. He's an interesting dude for sure.
All right, let's talk some hopes here. Got a lot of decisions that
you
are
played
coming
hoops
up
tonight. Did you get any points? Did you get any buckets? Any nice plays?
I got a few buckets.
A few buckets? All right.
I'm not very good, but I can rebound the shit out of the ball.
Oh, there you go.
You are slightly taller than the average man.
I hooped with Jared Wangler. Jared said, "Does Jack hoop?" I said no.
I'm just a straight shooter, dude. I sit in the corner and just.
I said Jack works at Orange Theory Fitness, but doesn't work out.
Oh, okay. Hey, I'm gonna have to do a Hank group message with you guys because I'm on day 2. I'm on day 2 in a row.
Day 2 in a row. I'm proud of you.
Day 2 in a row. I was telling people, I'm like, I've just got addictive personality. I literally need to do this every day if I'm gonna stick to it. So I'm on day 2. I'm gonna do every single day for as long as I need to, I guess. And I won't go crazy hard.
Probably the rest of your life, man. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, probably. But literally, I'm on day 2. I'm gonna get a streak here.
Okay, I like that. I'm proud of you.
Can you get a counter in the corner of the screen?
Yes, please.
For the days.
Yeah. Just do a whiteboard like who is that? Woody
I'll create a layout. Don't worry. I got it.
the old what was that? What's the show on ESPN?
PTI?
PTI, the corner around the horn.
Oh, around the horn, yeah.
Yeah. Woody Page would always have the whiteboard in the back. All right, sorry. Basketball. There's some big decisions coming up here.
Yeah.
We haven't heard anything. What's your insight here? Because I feel like it's this weird thing where we all at first everyone thought that they were leaving and now they're not on any draft boards, and it's like feels like they may be coming back, but I don't know. Is it all 3? Is it, what do you think?
Yeah, I would be pleasantly surprised if all 3 came back. I don't have any specific info to say otherwise. I do believe all 3 will test the waters. They're allowed to do that all 4 years. Every year now, the rules have changed recently. You can test the waters without an agent. Can't just do it. You can do it more than once now, which I think is a good rule. So I expect all 3 to at least test the waters. I think if you were to ask me who is the most likely out of the 3 to come back, I would venture to say probably Hunter would probably be the most likely to come back.
Why?
That's crazy.
I saw McHugh. I saw he was like, yeah, people aren't really looking at him because of his age.
That's probably the biggest thing is his age.
He wants 18-year-olds.
Yeah.
Why does that matter?
Yeah, that's a good question. Why does it matter? I don't know why it matters, but because they want to maximize a kid as long as possible. And having a 22, 23-year-old is frowned upon in terms of the length of time they can have a guy. It's dumb. It's dumb. But yeah, I mean, I can see a situation where all 3 come back. I don't know if that's going to happen. I can see.
Do you feel like Musa and Caleb are ready for even the G League right
now?
No,
if my personal opinion, no, I don't think they're even G League ready right now.
I don't think so either.
And there's an interesting wrinkle too. Michigan is recruiting Caleb Houston's younger brother in 2024. I think he's 2024. He might be 2023. He's one of the 2. He's being recruited. He's a defensive line recruit, and he's legit. So there's that wrinkle there too. I don't know if they'd want to, room together or whatever, but yeah, I know for a fact that Michigan is comfortable with whatever they decide because, from someone I've spoken to really close with the program, this person acknowledged the fact that each guy has a really strong circle around them. They're not that are going to get good information. They're not going to give him bad intel just to, see a gravy train, so to speak. They're Michigan is comfortable because Juwan is going to get the best information because he can contact any NBA GM he wants, and at the same time, the players are comfortable too because they're going to get the best information and they know their circle is legit. So, we'll see.
What are your thoughts on right now? I think there are a lot of people out there that say, a lot of fans that aren't NBA GMs, right?
Yeah.
And aren't college head coaches that are like, you're crazy to go to the NBA. You're crazy to take this jump. But I think that a lot of people don't understand that the option of going to the G League and just playing basketball, making money, as well as like learning under NBA development and coaches and stuff is sometimes a better option than staying in school. Even if they're not quite ready, it's still a better option sometimes.
Yeah, no, I think the G League has really gone through this, metamorphosis of sorts of late in the past couple of years. They've really, upped the money, up the significance of the G League. The NBA teams are now actually relying on, this type of funnel system, so to speak. They're actually using it as a legit minor league system, as it should be, not just this entity that exists. So, yeah, I mean, I think in years prior, if you're talking maybe, 5 years prior, the G League probably wouldn't be as lucrative as it is. But now, yeah, absolutely. If you're a legit fringe NBA guy, and I would say probably Hunter probably falls into that category as like a fringy NBA guy who could probably do really well in the G League to kind of, learn to where he's lacking. I think it'd be a good move. But at the same time, you're talking about Hunter, who's, arguably one of the more popular players on campus. You could probably get more value from NIL and avoid the, stay in campus, stay in school, and get more money, and then as compared to going through the G League grind. So that NIL element is added kind of an interesting wrinkle into all of this too, because all three guys could, I'm sorry, Caleb and Musa can't because they're international students, which totally sucks, but that's a different conversation. But Hunter, that's a good point. Yes, good point. But
we don't have to go down that road.
Right, exactly. But the money is there.
Go ahead.
No, the money is absolutely there in terms of, for Hunter. I mean, if you're going to say, let's say, I don't even know what an average G League contract is, 150 grand, let's say. He could make easy 250, of staying in Michigan. So
that's what I was going to ask you too, because I've heard some buzz around some pretty big numbers for Hunter NIL wise, and wanted to see if you had heard the same, because that throws a whole nother, like you said, wrinkle into it, right?
No, absolutely. It is going to be interesting for, a guy of Hunter's status, even guys in the future. Is it worth? Do you get paid more staying in school than getting paid more going to being an NBA fringe guy, which is hilarious to think about, considering, everything. It's just funny to think about. But yeah, I mean, the NIL option is legit. I mean, there's a real, discussion around that. And it sounds like Hunter's open to it. I mean, he right now, I know after having talking to some people, Hunter's not really even thinking about the NBA or even thinking about basketball right now. He's taking time off. He just wants to concentrate on being a student. So we'll see. I
think it is. I think he loves being a big fish in a small pond.
Exactly. He's got it made. He's got it made.
Why would you leave?
Exactly.
You're gonna tell me that I will say there's the social part to it, that college is a million times better than you going to Fort Wayne, Indiana.
Yeah.
Playing for the Mad Ants in a shit arena in front of 500 people. Honestly, I think that there's definitely that part too, where how long did Derek Walton do that? And how long do think about how good Nick Stauskas was in college, and he's been fighting every single day to make teams, whether it be overseas or here. I think that people don't understand. I don't know. It goes both ways, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the thing for Hunter too is he's got Garza in his corner, 4 or 5 year guy at Iowa, who ended up being National Player of the Year, and now he's getting some time with the Pistons a little bit, randomly, but he's probably like, dude, don't go to the NBA. You're not ready. You have this to work on. Be a big fish in a small pond.
Yeah.
Get your money while you can, especially with this NIL stuff.
Right.
Imagine Garza with NIL. He'd be selling corn shucks left and right. He's got a good thing going right now.
I mean, if Garza wasn't if he's a late second round guy, Luka Garza is a late second round guy. What does that say about Hunter? It's I don't know. It's crazy. It's crazy to me that a guy like Luka who played so well is considered a late second rounder type of talent, which clearly I don't know.
And he's even on the Pistons right now. He's fighting for. He's end of the bench type of guy on the Pistons, who are very much below average. They're it's still they're close to getting out of rebuild mode, but they're very much still in rebuild mode.
Yep, absolutely.
So it's not and so I don't know. It's just interesting to me how that all works out with a lot of these college kids and the NBA. I think basketball with NIL and the G League is now it's fucking crazy.
Yeah.
I don't know how kids the amount of info they must get on a weekly basis from people trying to make money off of them, people trying to tell them that they're first round picks, and then also on the other end, then all of a sudden you get hyped up to that. Then you finally talk to the NBA GM and he's like, yeah, you're not getting drafted.
Yeah.
And it's I think that's really mentally taxing on a guy, for example, like Hunter Dickinson, who is scoring 20 and 10 a night almost, and then all of a sudden it's you're not good enough. It's that's kind of crazy to me.
Yeah, no, it's a brutal business. It's brutal, and I'm in the position. I'm fully in the crowd of I'm perfectly fine with whatever decision they do. It's it's their lives. They want to go chase a bag in the pros. More than welcome to do that. I mean, the same people that bitched and complained about Jordan Poole leaving early are the same ones saying, "Oh, look how great Jordan's doing in Golden State. This is great." It's
that's me 100%.
Well, sorry, I didn't mean to make fun of you there, but it's true.
But it is 100%. I was like, dude, he's good. I think it was more so me wanting him to come back another
year.
Yeah. Somewhat of that too.
Right.
And then he's going off because I thought it was for me. I don't even know this guy's name. I keep reading his name. I just know his IG was Lanky Smooth. Who was that?
Oh,
DJ Wagner.
Yeah, DJ Wilson.
DJ Wilson.
Yes.
He got picked, I think, top 10.
He was
to go to Milwaukee.
He was
round.
He was a first rounder. I think he was 15th. He was a fringe lottery guy.
Right, but I'm remember when he did at Michigan? I definitely thought he had a bunch of upside just because of his size and he could shoot a little bit. But when he got picked 15, I at least for me, that was a huge where did that come from?
Right. Yeah.
I thought Poole might have been that kind of situation, but I
don't know. I
mean,
feel
great for him, man. He's hooping.
Yeah. So in my opinion, which nobody cares about my opinion, but
I'm glad you know
the Hunter thing, I think a lot of people think that Hunter will be what Hunter is right now. You're seeing the best hunter, right? That's what I think people think in the NBA world.
Yep.
Where DJ Wilson, it was like, holy shit, we're just seeing like the
Yep.
tip of the iceberg. He's got this 3-point shot. He's going to get bigger, that type of stuff. So, like,
100%.
I feel like that's kind of the difference between those two.
Yeah, I mean, Hunter's collegiate ceiling, I don't think he's touched yet. But like you said, Hunter is going to be Hunter, and I think, you know, in the NBA world, his skills are limited. But, you know, for Michigan's system, he's fits perfectly. But yeah, I mean, I don't think there's much growth. I mean, yeah, he could probably maybe develop a more consistent 3-point shot, but I don't think that's going to be the difference maker of him, you know, being an undrafted guy bumping up to a first round guy.
Yeah. I mean, being a 33% shooter to a 36% shooter,
right.
Nobody's being like, "Oh, you really, you know."
Is that really all it was?
I have no idea, honestly. I'm pulling numbers out of my ass. But
come to Blue by 90 for the stats.
I feel like that's probably. I would say low to mid 30s would probably be accurate for Hunter.
What if you could guess right now what it went from to? What would you say? Just stop looking at your screen. Close your eyes. You're fucking looking it up.
I'm not. So what are you saying? What it was freshman year?
What do you think the percentage difference was
from freshman to sophomore?
Yeah,
the difference in the percentages.
Yeah, do you think it's 3%?
I think I'm saying from this year to next year would only be probably a minimal.
Oh, yeah, gotcha. I thought you were saying a freshman year to sophomore.
Did he even make one his freshman year?
What?
Did he even make one his freshman year?
I'll be honest, I don't think he did.
No, I think he maybe shot like 5 total shots.
Yeah, now he's like the best 3-point shooter.
He was the most consistent 3-point shooter they had last year.
Crazy.
Oh, insane.
Literally. Let's see. He was this past year. Are you kidding me, guys? He was 32% from 3. That's what I said. So
freshman year or this past year?
Makes sense.
No, this past year.
Really?
His freshman year,
it'd be high 30s.
His freshman year, he was 0% from
3. Yep.
A 32% improvement. He's shooting 64% next year. That's what you're telling me? Better pick that boy number 1 overall.
Yeah, right. Oh man.
All right. Well,
so next year he's shooting 64%.
We've gone on for a while here. Josh, we appreciate you coming on, man. Do you have any what's I'm trying to think of how we send this out. We've got to get like a funny story or funny, I don't know, Harbaugh story, Juwan story. Like, I don't know. There's obviously a lot that went on this year with Juwan. What I don't know. Do you got anything for us?
I'm trying to think. Nothing really off the top of my head. You know, this year has been kind of like this last, especially basketball, it's been really wild for me because I haven't really been to many games because I was just so focused on trying to avoid our site from totally derailing and going and just crashing and burning. So it's just been really hard for me to focus. But yeah, I don't really have anything in terms of stories.
What about back in the day? What about a Beeline story?
Or just a you story. Like when the cantina on a Tuesday night, you were 12 years old and you got waited. You know?
I actually have a couple of Beeline stories.
All right.
There was this one time, and you know, I first met Beeline at a camp, a Michigan camp. They hosted one every year before, and I think they've hosted one with Juwan yet. Maybe one without people because the whole COVID thing. But I was with Sam Webb, and you know, he walked up to Beeline to shake his hand, and you know, I didn't expect Beeline to know who I was, and he points at me and goes, "Hey, you're the guy that Sam Webb retweets all the time." I'm like, "Oh, I'm honored. I guess you know who I am. I'll take it. I mean, whatever."
I hope that's in your Twitter bio.
It used to be, but not anymore. You know, it's been Beeline's been out of the game for a while, so I got to keep it fresh. You know, so
yeah. I mean, if we want to talk about a guy who's in the game, Barstool Big Cat, and he did happen.
It just got retweeted by him, so he's
there. You go.
I'm kind of a big deal, guys.
I too am part of the Big Cat Retweet Club.
Really?
Hey, there we go.
Wow.
All right.
Josh,
Wow.
what do
Thank
we
you,
hang
thank
out
you.
with these fucking losers?
We're nothing compared to
Have you
guys.
even ever been on Barstool Twitter, bro? Jeez, that's my second time. I just want to let you know.
You're
it's my second time.
incredible.
I'm pretty,
Yeah.
It's legit.
You're like, I feel like I'm a frequent tweeter from Blue by 90, but then the Shield tweets is just like not as often, but they're all hits. Like you make a big splash when you come in.
I almost just started bawling my eyes out because that's the nicest thing you've ever said to me.
Well, we'll send it off with that. There you go. Wait, Josh, was that the story? I didn't want to cut you off.
No, yeah, that was it. I mean, it wasn't that great of a story, but I just thought it was funny.
No,
I'm just known by Sam Webb's retweets. So
I like the Lloyd Carter one better. I think it's a better.
yeah. God, that one's a long story. I still cringe about it when I think about it. It's
Were
just
you
like
wearing Jenko jeans when you took.
no, I don't even. Oh God,
You've
I
got
like
a picture somewhere.
I might. Well, I don't know. I'd have to dig deep. It's probably I don't even know. I don't even know where it is.
Like framed on their bedside.
Yeah.
Hands over.
Oh God, I still think about it and cringe to myself it'll cross my mind randomly. I'm just during the day and I'm just like, oh, you asshole,
You just
you
wake up
stupid asshole.
You need to put it on Twitter.
Here's the thing, though. We're about to release the Josh Henschke collection on our site, and it's just going to be Spuck Farty with that picture on.
I love it.
Oh God. It's just so cringy looking back on it, but whatever. It happened. I am the person I am today because of it.
Yeah,
Thanks,
there you go.
Lloyd.
Accept it.
There you
You
go.
know, then you're good.
Oh God.
All right. Well, plug your stuff here as we send it off. Then.
Yep. You can find me on Twitter at Josh Henschke. You can follow the Maize Blue Review on Twitter at Maize Blue Review. And you can find us at michigan.rivals.com.
There you go. We appreciate you coming on. And do you guys? Everybody's got a deal. It feels like right now. Do you guys got a deal for subscribers?
Not yet. That's something I need to talk to my superiors about. I need to get that going. But if you want to subscribe, be my guest. We're happy to any and all subscribers. Say hi on the boards, all that good stuff. It's a good community. Highly recommend it. It's a solid community.
You have some good people on there, man.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm really happy about. That we got a really good, like genuine. I'm not just blowing smoke up my own ass.
Yeah.
We've got genuinely good people on our community, and I'm really happy about that.
There you go. Well, we appreciate you coming on, man.
Yeah,
we love your stuff. We love, we're excited about where the site's going and all that stuff. So
appreciate that.
Go follow him. I feel like you've got, whether it's you, Zach, Trevor, right? Zach Libby is the other guy, right?
Yep.
So you guys have got the scoops and all that stuff. So it's good to see you guys build that up. So we appreciate you. And for us, you can follow us at Blue by 90 on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. We're on the Maize Brew network for podcasts and for YouTube. We appreciate you guys. Go Blue.
Go Blue.
Go Blue.